Asean Today. I'm Monica Samboret from the National Television of Cambodia in Phnom Penh.
And I'm Dalton Tanonaka of the Indonesia channel at the ASEAN Secretariat in Jakarta, and this is your window into the dynamic Southeast Asia region. ASEAN's newest leader made an introductory tour of 3 member states with several hot-button issues discussed. Indonesia's President Joko Widodo began his visit on February 5th in Malaysia, where the topics included maritime claims to domestic workers to illegal fishing.
Apa-apa isu yang belum diselesaikan secara tuntas, kami juga berazam untuk mewujudkan mekanisme tambahan untuk membolehkan kita mencari penyelesaian.
The 2 leaders also signed a memorandum to explore Malaysia's help in building an Indonesian national car. The next stop was Brunei, where Sultan Hassan al-Bolkiah awarded Widodo the country's highest honorary title. Their delegations held bilateral meetings focusing on investment in the oil sector. And the tour wound up in the Philippines, where it was all business, with trade and investment the priority agenda item.
Malaysia's highest court sent opposition leader Anwar Ibrahim back to prison for 5 years. Judges upheld Ibrahim's sodomy conviction of February 10th, ending a 7-year case. This was the former Deputy Prime Minister's last avenue for appeal, and he was immediately taken back to prison. Ibrahim and supporters claimed the case was a political vendetta. More than 1,000 Singaporeans paid respect to World War II victims 70 years after the end of that conflict. The public memorial service on February 15 mourned those who died during the Japanese occupation. War veterans, government representatives, and victim families to lay wreaths at the Peace Monument. An estimated 50,000 Singaporeans died in the occupation between 1942 and 1945.
Ceremonies were held in Myanmar to honor the country's founding father on the occasion of the 100th anniversary of his birth. A series of commemorative activities were held in Yangon on February 13th in tribute to General Aung San. His daughter, Aung San Suu Kyi, is a member of parliament and Nobel Peace Prize winner. The day is also observed as National Children's Day. Festive celebrations to mark the Lunar New Year were held throughout the ASEAN region. February 19th marked the beginning of the Year of the Sheep, symbolizing patience and peace. In Vietnam, people went shopping for decorative items in red and gold to bring luck and wealth. In Singapore, festivities in Chinatown included colorful lanterns and street performances. And in Indonesia, where the majority population is Muslim, joint ceremonies were held in several cities. Indonesia declared Chinese New Year a national holiday in 2002, ending years of discriminatory practices. More on this in our Hot Seat segment.
The Philippine Bureau of Customs destroyed more than 100,000 pairs of fake footwear in its fight against piracy. These imitation products of well-known brands were worth more than $1 million. This public display on February 24 was to intensify the government campaign against counterfeit goods. The fake shoes and slippers copy global brands such as Nike, Adidas, and Lacoste. They were smuggled in from China. Recent global outbreak of disease are boosting sales of medical equipment and supply in Malaysia. The industry is a key driver of economic growth. As ASEAN Today, Andita Winter explains.
The growing threat of contagious diseases around the world, such as SARS and bird flu, has driven a higher global demand for medical equipment. Malaysia cashes in $5 billion a year thanks to this industry, which grew 10% last year. Local small and medium enterprises produce a huge variety of medical devices, from disposable catheters to finely hand-finished surgical instruments. And this industry is considered to be key in driving the country's economic development, pouring in government support to the sector for medical devices.
We played a role from the aspect of, building the competitiveness in manufacturing. So the manufacturing excellence, operation improvements, We share some best practices among the members.
Medical gloves are the biggest component in the industry, and Malaysia produces 2/3 of world's medical gloves, including natural and synthetics examination gloves, which in total amounts to more than 100 billion pieces a year for the country. Hartalega was the first local company to develop a lightweight nitrile glove.
The answer to better capabilities is technology, is innovation. Right? It's not about how many gloves we produce anymore. It's about what kind of gloves we produce to cater for the ever-changing market needs. It's about the quality of the gloves. It's about how efficiently we do it.
Malaysian glove companies are expected to capture a 65% share of the global glove market by 2020, up from 58% currently. In 2014, Malaysia recorded a 6.4% growth in natural rubber glove exports and 0.3% growth in synthetic rubber glove exports by volume compared to the previous year.
Because of the fast-growing Asian economy and because of all the many healthcare reforms, we think the awareness of hygiene and healthcare awareness will increase, will improve. Then the growth in demand of gloves, it will be huge.
Hartalega is currently investing $600 million in expanding its production. In Asia, the use of examination gloves per capita is less than 5 per year, compared to 100 in Europe, making it easy to see why Malaysia's glove makers are so optimistic. Andita Winda for ASEAN Today.
More ASEAN Today is coming up shortly.
We will explore the status of Chinese in ASEAN's biggest country, historical perspectives from the daughter of Indonesia's champion of tolerance, just ahead.
You are watching ASEAN Today. I'm Monica Samboret in Phnom Penh.
And I'm Dalton Tanonaka in Jakarta. Chinese ancestry has deep roots here in Indonesia. Nearly 3 million Indonesians identify themselves as Chinese. On the occasion of the Lunar New Year, I talked with Yeni Wahid, director of the Wahid Institute and daughter of the country's fourth president, Abdul Rahman Wahid. Yeni, your father was considered the leader who pushed for full rights and acceptance of Chinese Indonesians.
Yeah, 4 years under the New Order regime, the Chinese populations in Indonesia were not allowed to celebrate their cultures here openly. And they were not even allowed to keep their name, the Chinese names and reading the Chinese alphabets or even talking in Chinese language. But during my dad's time when he was president, he issued a presidential decree that basically abolished the decree that banning the celebration of all Chinese culture before during the New Order. So that was again, it's like a big mark for the Chinese Indonesians, in which they can celebrate the cultures again. They were it's a big turning point. It was a big move, from the repressions of the previous regime into a more liberated environment for them. And now we see a very flourishing celebrations and acceptance of this culture in Indonesia. So it was politically motivated. So it could not be replaced. The ban could not be replaced while the Suharto government was still in place. But after President Suharto stepped down, then a couple of years later, then my father, after President Habibie, of course, the President Habibie didn't do anything about it. But during my dad's time, he took the big step to basically reverse the banning and allow people to celebrate, the Chinese people to celebrate the cultures again.
How far have Chinese Indonesians come since your dad's time?
Well, my dad's government was certainly trying to do so, and by laying out all these rules and regulations. And I think under Ibu Megawati also there was it was made into law. And after that, I think there was a flourishing of the cultures, and now we see more and more involvement of Chinese ethnic groups into many positions in the society, and sorry, not just in the society, but in many strategic positions in the government as well. And that was something that was unheard of. My dad started that by appointing Mr. Kwik Kian Gi as a minister in his cabinet, and I think that tradition was then upheld by the next presidents. Under President Yudhoyono, there was Ibu Mari Pangestu, and now we see Governor of Jakarta, for example, Mr. Basuki Cahayapurnama, who also comes from Chinese ethnicity background. So I think when it comes to absorption, of Chinese cultures, Chinese rights, I think the society is quite accepting of that now.
And some still consider Chinese Indonesians as not being part of the Indonesian community. Is that fair?
Before the decree, the Chinese Indonesians had to have a certain letter that stated that they are also part of that's a citizen of Indonesia, which is quite different from just the regular, that the regular citizens were not obligated to have that kind of letter. But now it's no longer the law is no longer in place. So I think we see a better protection when it comes to the rights, legal rights of the Chinese ethnicity in Indonesia. But when it comes to people's perceptions, it will take time. It will take time, but it requires not only the non-Chinese communities' involvement, but also Chinese communities' involvement as well in straightening up the misconception that Chinese ethnicity are not as Indonesians or not considered as pribumi or native Indonesian citizens. So I think the Chinese Indonesians also need to assert their rights, also need to be more assertive in claiming that they are as Indonesian as any other ethnic groups in Indonesia.
Last question. How much work needs to be done to fully embrace and appreciate Indonesia's diversity?
Well, we still see, in some parts of areas in which discrimination still exists. And I think that there was this unwritten sort of rules that relegated the Chinese community only into the business sector, whereas they can contribute so much more into the society. And I think into the future, we need to see more involvement and also by the Chinese community into different sectors, and be more assertive in their claim to be as Indonesian as any other citizens. And also we need to educate people more, general public in Indonesia, that really doesn't matter, what ethnicity that you're from, as long as you are doing something for this country, then you are a full-on citizen of Indonesia.
Yeni Wahid, Director of the Wahid Institute, thank you very much for your time. President Megawati Sukarno Putri officially made the Lunar New Year a national holiday in 2002. More ASEAN Today is coming up shortly.
We hear the soothing sound of bamboo in the Philippines, and we get pumped on physical fitness trend here in Cambodia. That's next.
This is ASEAN Today.
And we are coming to you this month from Jakarta and Phnom Penh. A sweetie trend is catching on here in Cambodia capital. The goal of healthy body is pushing more people to pump iron. ASEAN Today, Robalyn Puba has the story.
Bodybuilding was almost unknown in Cambodia just a few years ago, but now the sport's popularity is gaining weight. Swedish-born nutritionist Maria Karlsvård Ahlberg is a leading figure in Cambodia's bodybuilding scene. Her love affair with the sport began when she competed in a contest in 1996, and when she moved to Cambodia in 2009, she was determined to continue her passion. Today, Ahlberg is on her mission to promote bodybuilding in the Southeast Asian country.
När jag kom hit till Kambodja så var det väldigt svårt att hitta bra gym, kosttillskott, träning med fitness och bodybuilding var väldigt begränsat. Det var väldigt svårt att få tag på det mesta. Nu efter 5 år så kan man hitta kosttillskott, man kan hitta bra gym, det börjar komma bra tränare, det är lättare att utveckla sporten och det finns en stor framtid här i Kambodja för bodybuilding och fitness.
Ahlberg formed Team Fitness Life in 2012 to share her passion with enthusiastic young Cambodians. Since then, the team has grown to comprise 5 amateur athletes and is looking to add more talent.
គឺខ្ញុំហាត់កីឡាកីឡាកាយវប្បកម្មហ្នឹងគឺដើម្បីដំបូងគឺដើម្បីសុខភាពទី2ខ្ញុំស្រឡាញ់រូបរាងធំសង្ហាមានសាច់ដុំអញ្ចឹងហ្នឹងហើយចុងក្រោយហ្នឹងក៏ខ្ញុំក៏បានចូលប្រឡូកក្នុងវិស័យកីឡាហ្នឹងកាន់តែជ្រៅដោយសារខ្ញុំគិតថាចង់ឲ្យប្រជាជនខ្មែរយើងយល់ដឹងពីសុខភាពឲ្យបានច្រើនដើម្បីមកហ្វឹកហាត់កីឡាទាំងអស់គ្នា
Cambodia now has several international bodybuilding competitions, like the recent 4th annual Angkor Bodybuilding Association competition, where more than 50 bodybuilders from across the country battled it out over 5 weight categories.
ខ្ញុំជាលើកដំបូងខ្ញុំចាប់អារម្មណ៍ទៅលើការហាត់ប្រាណហ្នឹងគឺដោយសារសុខភាពទេបាទដោយសារខ្ញុំស្រឡាញ់សុខភាពហើយខ្ញុំឃើញរៀមច្បងដែលគេហាត់បានល្អខ្ញុំក៏ចង់ឲ្យមានសុខភាពល្អដែរបាទហើយបន្ទាប់មកទៀតពេលខ្ញុំស្ថាបនារាងកាយខ្ញុំបានម្ដងតែខ្ញុំមើលទៅខ្ញុំចាប់អារម្មណ៍ទៅលើរាងកាយខ្ញុំក៏ចង់ឲ្យរាងកាយរបស់ខ្ញុំហ្នឹងបានល្អហើយខ្ញុំចង់ចូល competition បាទចង់សាកម្ដងមានបទពិសោធន៍ជាមួយរៀមច្បងបាទពេលដែលមានការ competition ខ្ញុំកាន់តែទទួលបានបទពិសោធន៍ច្រើនទៀតព្រោះខ្ញុំអាចដឹងថាកីឡាហ្នឹងវានាំមកនូវសុខភាពផងនាំមកនូវរាងកាយបានស្រស់សង្ហាហើយក៏យើងអាចមានលទ្ធភាពចូលរួមការងារជាមួយរៀមច្បងបានឬមួយក៏យើងអាចងាយស្រួលនឹងស្វែងរកការងារនៅតាមទីផ្សារនានាទៅតាមប្រទេសកម្ពុជានឹងបានបាទ
Today, there are many varieties of bodybuilding supplements available to supply essential needs in a bodybuilder's diet. And with internet penetration increasing and international media spreading its influence, the future of bodybuilding in Cambodia looks healthy. Robert Lin Purba for Asean Today.
Here are several events on the ASEAN calendar. The World Street Food Congress will be held in Singapore from April 8th through the 12th. A water fight with elephants is the highlight of the Old City Songkrong Festival in Ayutthaya, Thailand from April 13th to the 16th. And the Irish pop rock band The Script will be in concert at the Asia Area Mall in Manila on April 17th. A church in the Philippines was the venue for a classical music event featuring a unique instrument. ASEAN Today's Prisma Kinanti takes us there.
The 40th International Bamboo Organ Festival was held on February 21st, showcasing a pipe organ made out of bamboo, perched high on the wall of the St. Joseph Parish Church in Manila's suburb Las Piñas. The festival brought together musicians from all over the world for a week-long concert featuring classical and baroque music. The festival draws global attention and sees international visitors attending and returning to attend yet again each year. Filipinos are also beginning to appreciate the music.
Yeah, we want to hear more of the festival.
In fact, we're planning to bring our 2 sons back here.
Yeah. We keep coming back because it's a wonderful atmosphere. You find that nowhere else in the world, and the sound of the organ is magnificent. And it's a type of music that in the Philippines you do not find very often, but in general it's a combination of music that even in Europe you are hard-pressed to find.
Diego Serra, the first parish priest of Las Piñas, built the bamboo organ between 1816 and 1824. He believed bamboo to be the best material available locally.
He had to find in nature the pipes he was going to use, and the pipes that don't grow side by side. So the real art is that he had to find in nature the material for this instrument. And it is, I would say, a miracle that this sounds perfect.
This festival began in 1975 after the bamboo organ underwent major restorations in Germany. Guy Bovet, a Swiss organist, has performed at the festival numerous times since 1980. He performed his own compositions as well as variations derived from traditional Filipino mass hymns.
If I pull this one or this one, the sound will be very different. So it's just like calling for one instrument of the orchestra or for another one.
A lot more needs to be done in creating awareness and appreciation among Filipinos for classical music.
Seldom that classical music is introduced in the education. And if you go around public places, you hear most of the time popular music. And I think this is a challenge because we have instruments like this where classical music or even early music is suited for this kind of instrument. And the challenge is, I believe, that we start from the children, educating them, exposing them to this kind of music, because anyway, the popular music just originated from this kind of music.
Despite challenges like funding, event organizers remain hopeful that the Bamboo Organ Festival will continue to play on, and plans are underway to celebrate another milestone, the 200th anniversary of its creation next year. Prisma Kinanti for ASEAN Today.
It is feedback time when we hear from you in the ASEAN region and throughout the world. And joining us with that, as always, is Durrani Sidichanya of the ASEAN Secretariat. Dee, good to see you again.
You too, Dalton. Let's get to it. Jackie in Hanoi posted this on our Facebook page. What should we do to tell our people about ASEAN Economic Community? One simple way, Jackie, is to read and watch all news coverage of the upcoming AEC, including this program. And another Facebook post came from Rizky. The ASEAN Farm Show will debut on September 3 to 6 in Surabaya, Indonesia. Thanks for that info, Rizky. Let us know what you're thinking or what you want to see on the program. Email us at aseantodaytv@gmail.com, post something on our Facebook page, or tweet us at ASEANTodayTV. And that's all for this month, Dalton.
All right, Dee, thanks. Great to see you.
Dalton and Dee, if you like to dance, you should have been in Thailand. It was an attempt to set a world record for the longest dance. And on Valentine's Day in Pattaya, it happened. 9 couples danced for 35 hours, 1 minute and 1 second. That beat the previous record set in 2008 in Mexico. The tired couples split 6,000 for their effort. And that's ASEAN Today. I'm Onika Samboret of the National Television of Cambodia in Phnom Penh.
And I'm Dalton Tanonaka of the Indonesia channel at the ASEAN Secretariat in Jakarta. Thank you very much for watching, and see you again next time for ASEAN Today.